surely Brett Yormark is enjoying the Big Ten not playing nice with Miami right now, just like we're not enjoying another rating service not playing nice by giving us another 3-win season projection. Yet all of it would be erased if the biggest legacy Presley yet would make his decision to come on home and bring a brother with you.
You are Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma State Cowboys, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, y'all, and hello, all. Welcome back to Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily stop for all things Cowboy and Cowgirl related. My name is Cody Stovall. I want to thank you kindly for stopping by to make this your first listen. We're available on all of your podcasting platforms, visually as well on YouTube. Find me personally on X at Aldeo State Today. We're brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment matter more, especially right now when new customers can get $200 back in bonus bets when your first $5 holler is a winner. Get squared away with FanDuel.com today. Speaking of getting squared away, Oklahoma State has the opportunity to do so in the legacy variety. And I think recently the trend has been going a little bit more downward, as opposed to the beginning, Mike Gundy saying that the legacy connections were precisely what he needed to kind of build up Oklahoma State, because those connections seem to matter a little bit more. Now, as time has progressed, we've missed out on a couple dudes, right? We weren't able to get Dax Hill, Justice Hill's brother. We weren't able to get Malik Muhammad, Jabbar Muhammad's brother. We weren't able to get Corey Black's brother. We weren't able to capitalize on the recruitment of Tatum Bell Deuce. We weren't able to even really get the attention of Vernon Grant Jr. We haven't really exploded on the scene for Caleb C6 White, nor has the words been evident that we're still heavily targeting Rickland Holmes II. So the legacy connection that Oklahoma State prided itself on for a long time under Mike Gundy seems to be losing a little bit of that allure to it. Now, naturally, Brennan Presley has the nickname of BP. Not very many players in the country anywhere are known by their nicknames. Brennan Presley is known by BP. So I guess you could call him BP1, because the speedster and Braylin Presley, his younger brother, also came to Oklahoma State, played here his freshman year, did get a decent amount of playing time, but seemingly he wanted to play a little bit of running back still, and that wasn't really the projection for the roster spot here in Stillwater, so he found his way over to Tulsa. Now enters Braeden Presley. And why this is important is because we've been hearing for years, even when Brennan Presley was young, that, hey, there was whispers of the younger Presley might actually be the best of the bunch. Well, he's definitely the biggest of the bunch at 6'2", 190 pounds. He's announced his top four. Oklahoma State is in it. Unfortunately, so is OU, Texas Tech, and Kansas State. There's a lot of variables that are going to be factored in here, whether he's going to play offense, whether he's going to play defense. He has the ability to do both. Now, where he's going to play in college, I think it's somewhat insignificant because of the versatility that it provides. We all know that from a size perspective, he is definitely a rare bird, but even on top of that, he has a lot of ability outside of just football. He's a track guy, just like his brothers. Coming in, he's a right around 11-second 100-meter guy. You could imagine that by now it's probably less than that. 23-second 200-meter guy, competes in the 4x1, 4x2, 4x4. Was able to run a 23.1 second 200-meter time and a 19.4 long jump. He eclipsed 1,000 all-purpose yards this previous season, caught 25 passes for 365 yards, 4 tutties at 14.2 yards per completion, while rushing 14 times for 245 yards and 2 touchdowns at 17.5 yards per carry. He also threw a 55-yard touchdown pass, recorded 39 tackles, 4 picks, 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble return, including a 100-yard fumble return for a touchdown, produced 400-plus kick and punt yard returns, averaging 19.9 yards on returns and 10.7 on punts, respectively. This individual has been able to cut out Arkansas and Kansas and Maryland and Purdue and UNLV and Mizzou to get to where we are now. And this is outside of the athleticism. This is a shot at redemption, right? Because I think we all wished Braylin Presley would have been able to stick it out at Oklahoma State. And ironically enough, he goes to Tulsa, plays a year running back, and then they essentially move him to wide receiver anyways. So if he's going to play wide receiver in college, why not come back to where it started? And why not make it with your brother's decision, right? Let Braylin Presley come back with the announcement of Braeden Presley, BP3, coming to Stillwater, Oklahoma. This legacy connection thing has kind of taken a little bit of a downturn recently, and I feel like this is an opportunity for us to land a big in-state guy to capitalize on the recruiting battles that we've been having recently with OU. To win in-state, you got to land guys like this. And whenever you have those family connections, it's even more important. Not to mention the coaches that Braylin Presley had any semblance of an issue with, they're all gone. So this is a perfect time for the Presley family to realize that Stillwater America is what's best for yet another one of their children. And I think Braden obviously is going to be the one to make this decision. There's a lot of things going in Oklahoma State's favor, but the biggest, I think, is this staff. Whether it be the Todd Grantham, SEC NFL staff on the defensive side of the ball, or it's going to be Doug Meacham on the offensive side of the ball. It doesn't matter. Corey Patterson, Theron H., right? You can go up and down the line. Whomever is recruiting Braden Presley, this is why this is important to me. Obviously, we just mentioned we didn't really go after Tatum Deuce Bell recently with the new staff for whatever reason. And it appears as though the conversations between us and Rickland Holmes seem to be calming down a little bit for whatever reason. So if we didn't get Vernon Grant Jr., we didn't get Tatum Deuce Bell, and we might not get Rickland Holmes II, and we didn't get Dax, we didn't get Malik, we didn't get a bunch of these individuals that had family members playing in Stillwater at the time, that's slightly problematic. And so if we're going to flip the script here, this tells me that this is a big get, because this staff, who has maybe sidelined some other former legacies that are 3-star, 4-star individuals, but they're heavily pursuing Braden Presley, does that not accentuate the fact that this staff believes that this dude could come to Oklahoma State and start regardless of what his last name is? To me, that's the biggest reason why Braden Presley should make this decision to come to Oklahoma State, because this staff isn't messing around. This staff seemingly doesn't really care about all of the things that Mike Gundy grew Oklahoma State on. Not saying that's bad or good, but I am saying that this staff clearly has identified something in Braden Presley that means he's a little bit different than some of the other legacies that we've decided not to go after, or for whatever reason couldn't land in the last few years or so. Is he the biggest legacy get of all time? Maybe not, but is he the biggest for right now? Absolutely, because the recent trend has been the opposite. The recent trend has been we're not getting the legacy individuals. So this is a chance to turn the tide. And the reason that I find it likely, or at least a possibility, is because of the designation of this staff. They have removed individuals that the previous staff were recruiting heavily for whatever reason, and they've gone after somebody like a Braden Presley to an almost unprecedented level compared to the other legacies. This was something that Oklahoma State fans loved for years, right? And having the connections of bringing J.W. Walsh back on the staff, and having Rashedi Jones roaming the sidelines, and having Benny Tonga back, and David Glidden back, and now we have Cooper Bassett back, and then we have Andrew Mitchell back, now we have Grant Garner back. Like, we have enough of this family atmospheric, old school Cowboy culture thing to make this work, in my opinion, mixed with this new NFL, SEC, we don't give 13 craps, we're just here to produce model. If you take the Cowboy culture, old school family legacy that we built everything off of, and you can combine that with this new, we don't give a hoot unless you can come in and start right away recruiting philosophy, that shows that Brennan Presley is a dude, or Braden Presley is a dude. We know that Brennan Presley is the all-time receiver receptions leader at Oklahoma State history, which is a massive, massive deal. So if we can get Braden, why not convince Braylin to come on back home as well? This could be a 2-for-1 occasion here, and that would be the best way to counter some of the guys that we haven't been able to land of the legacy variety, especially recently. You can create your own legacy by rock and rolling with FanDuel. FanDuel is the bee's knees for all your betting needs, especially with the NBA playoffs being right around the corner of finito, done. And the Thunder hopefully can get it done. However, every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, can't-miss moments, whether it's game-winning shots or breakout players or massive dunks or big-time blocks or diving over the crowd for loose balls. There's never been a better time for you to get in on the action. We all know the Major League Baseball season is also heating up, and every game brings those clutch hits, the pitching performances that leave you in awe, the unforgettable moments, walk-off homers, no-nos, perfect games, all in the making, without the shortage of any kind of drama on the diamond. There's not a better place for you to get in on any of the action than with FanDuel. FanDuel makes it easy for you to stay in the game before tip-off, before the first pitch, and live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. If you've ever had a good read on who's about to light up the scoreboard, why not back it up with a same-game parlay? Have you ever wondered how a $200 bonus in bets could add to the excitement of your first $5 hit? Get in on the action today, because if you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head on over to FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. If it's a winner, you'll get $200 back in bonus bets. Make every moment matter more, especially right now with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. We'll keep cruising right along here. Yet another ratings projection, percentage-wise, has Oklahoma State at a 3-win season. And why this is interesting, so if you look at yet another Kelly Ford rating, you know that Kelly Ford's a big company, or at least from a viewership perspective, there's somebody that has been around for a decent amount of time, and people do put their charts and things up on a national basis. So it's clearly something that people have been paying attention to. They have Oklahoma State basically finishing with another 3-win season. And the funny part here is when you look back as opposed to last year and this year, last year they had Oklahoma State as 4th in the Big 12 with K-State, Utah, and KU as the top 3. After Oklahoma State, they had Arizona, UCF, TCU, Texas Tech, Iowa State, West Virginia, Colorado, Baylor, Cincinnati, BYU, Arizona State, and Houston. So they had Utah, Kansas, and Oklahoma State at the top. That obviously did not live up to expectations. Yet they also had Arizona State, BYU, and Baylor at the bottom, and clearly that shifted. Now, of course, you could make the argument this just adds validity to the terminology of the bipolar Big 12 and how you could really just shoot craps or throw darts at a dartboard to come up with a representation of how the Big 12 is going to be. But this previous season, let's see, they had Oklahoma State's percentages of winning 9 games at 1%. Well, they were right there. But they also had Arizona State's opportunity of winning 5 games at 3%. So now you look over to the newest projections, and you probably get a decent feel for where this is headed. But nonetheless, this year they also have Kansas State once again up at the top, followed by Arizona State, BYU, Taco Recum Tech, TCU, Baylor, KU, Utah, Iowa State, UCF, Colorado, Cincinnati, Oklahoma State, Houston, Arizona, and West Virginia. And what do they have? So our possibility of reaching 7 wins, they have at 1%. Our opportunities at what was it? 4 wins is 50%. 76% for 3 wins. And then you look up here at the top, and where this is even a little crazier to me is you look at the Kansas State percentage of winning 9 games, 3% as opposed to 4%, even though they did that this previous season. Arizona State did as well, yet their projection is to win 9 games at 1%, followed by BYU, Texas Tech, Baylor, TCU, all at 1%. So the best they have in the Big 12 is Kansas State at 7 wins. And that's, no, not even 7, 6 wins. Their chances of reaching 7 wins are 43%. Their chances of reaching 6 wins are 71%. So based off of these percentage algorithmic metrics, I guess you could call them, the winner of the Big 12 is going to have 6 wins. Now, I'm not a mathematician, but I would find that very hard to believe. So from a mathematical perspective, I don't exactly understand how this comes into the equation. Yet nonetheless, it is yet another indication that some of the national prognostications do not favor Oklahoma State a whole lot this much. But here, let's break this thing down. Why this is absolutely nonsensical. We just had our worst season of all time under Mike Gundy, our worst conference season since 1994. What are the chances of that happening again? Well, according to these aren't the only rating. There's a decent number of ratings that say this is a probability in Stillwater that it's going to repeat itself. Okay, so obviously having the 21 or 20 returning starters and 85, 90% of the roster returning didn't really mean a whole lot. So why would the opposite not be effective this season? Part of the problem was the roster. Okay, well, we cleared that out and we brought in almost 40 brand new dudes. Part of the other biggest issue that was glaring, whether you're a football fan or you're a casual observer or you're a reporter or a broadcaster, whatever, was the coaching was just not all that great, right? The offensive innovations were non-existent. When other teams made fun of our offensive play calls, and then they joked about how we rehearsed Oklahoma State's entire game, and sure enough, they basically ran every play that we set up in practice. So we knew what they were going to do based off of their formations almost every single play. When stuff like that is happening, you clearly have some issues. So we got rid of the player issues, seemingly, not only because we had 36 some odd upperclassmen, but we also brought in this new system that equaled the mini camp, the rookie OTA, things of that nature that equaled roster cuts. And so if players were the problem, well, a large portion of them are gone. So where's the excuse now? You're going to say that the players were the problem, but the players are gone, so maybe it's the new players that are still going to be the same exact problem. Make that make sense. I understand that there's going to be some instability now, but at the same point in time, part of the complacency issue is being resolved by an entirely new staff. Not only that, you have an entirely new staff that has a lot of success. And a lot of that success has been at both the SEC and the NFL. So if the coaches were the problem, fix that. If the roster was the problem, we fix that. If complacency was a problem, that's gone. If motivation is a cure for whatever the cancerous things in the team were last season, that seems to be resolved. People question whether Mike Gundy still has it. Heck, I wonder if Mike Gundy still had it after all of the 2022 Spencer Sanders not being a practice stuff. I was curious, much like some other people. Yet even then, the one thing that we've always been able to count on, whether you love Mike Gundy or you despise the dude, is when the chips are down and the haters are coming out from the woodwork saying the Oklahoma State's going to be terrible. Those are the years that Mike Gundy does good. So coincidentally, okay, Utah is projected to be towards the top once again on a lot of projections. Yet Oklahoma State is going to be at the very bottom. Yet part of the conversational pieces as to why Utah is going to be at the top is because of Kyle Whittingham. Even though Mike Gundy has a better winning record than Kyle Whittingham. You see what I'm saying here? It's like the picky and the choosy stuff. Everybody is going to have to rebuild some portions of the roster every single season. Projecting that Oklahoma State's going to have another 3-win season, that just mathematically doesn't compute. Because we've had worse teams that had better seasons. I mean, the basement for 18 years with 7 wins, the absolute basement. And he has one horrendous year because of the staff, primarily the complacency, the laziness, and it kind of spread throughout the locker room. And I don't think everybody was holding each other accountable. All of that is gone. So you can't point at the roster and say that it's going to be the limiting factor because it wasn't a limiting factor last year, at least statistically. So what's the basis? What's the merit here? Is it because we have 2 new quarterbacks? I mean, even if Garrett Rangel and Milwaukee Smith were back, nothing would be different. They would still be saying the same things, talking the same way, with the same level of projections. I'm just trying to understand where it comes from. Because if you're going to say, well, it's because you have a bunch of new players, yeah, that's probably a good thing if you watched last season. Or it's because you have all new coaches. Yeah, probably a good thing if you watched last season. It's probably because you have different quarterbacks. Well, if you watched Alan Bowman last season, unfortunately, he had a down year, a very down year. So most likely everything's an upgrade, especially when you're talking about a Haas Haney that was so good as a true freshman that TCU had to find a way to put him on the field, even though Josh Hoover wasn't having an all Big 12 level season. And now Josh Hoover could very well be an All-American level candidate this season. I just feel like the factors aren't exactly weighing up. And then you bring in some former 5-star All-Americans. You bring in some consensus 4-star dudes. You got guys coming over from Ole Miss and LSU and Ohio State and Florida. I mean, it just, the haterade sometimes makes some sense. But 3 wins? Come on. What are we doing? Mike Gundy could drink 1,000 beers before every game and probably not have another 3-win season. It's crazy. I'll tell you what else is crazy is the fact that the Big Ten is deciding to back Wisconsin in this lawsuit with Miami. Now, am I a big Xavier Lucas fan? No. I do think that a bad precedence is being set by what is taking place. So I understand the litigation aspects between Wisconsin and Miami. That should probably be happening, right? A kid should not be able to sign an NIL deal if the NIL deals are now essentially going to take the place of a letter of intent. So instead of signing a letter of intent, which is contractually saying that I'm committed to come enroll in classes and be at this university for at least a year. So if those are done and some semblance of the compensation package is going to take that place, and then the kid signs an NIL, package of some sort, and then they leave, and then they're told, well, no, you can't leave. You just sign a contract. Like we're paying you to be a football player at Wisconsin. What are you talking about? You're leaving. And then he's like, oh, that's illegal? Okay, well, then I'll just quit playing football, period. Hint, hint, wink, wink. And I'll just be a student at Miami. Yeah, while I'm a student at Miami, trust and believe I'm probably going to pick up a football. I might accidentally throw on some pads while we're at it because I'm still that level of a dude. So I think Wisconsin should be doing what they're doing. However, the Big Ten jumping in to back up Wisconsin, that's a bold move, Cotton. And I hope that it's a move that Brett Yormark is paying attention to. Do we want Miami pulling this rinky-dinky nonsense? No, we don't. Right? We don't. But at the same point in time, if it's going to be beneficial for the Big 12, okay, I guess I could be a Xavier Lucas fan temporarily. Because I also think that with this going on, if Brett Yormark is going to have some leverage to cut out any potential nefariousness by Miami, this is going to help. And previously, when the discussions of realignment went down, the common consensus was there's no way that the other power conferences are going to allow you to get Florida State and Clemson and Miami and North Carolina. Okay, fine. Not no more. Unless Miami's going to end up in the SEC, which I guess it could still be a possibility because realignment is likely to come again. Is it probably a few years away? Yeah, but all of the lawsuit nonsense that already took place in the ACC just creates more instability. It's the same thing that we did a long time ago for OU and Texas. That's what they just did for the Florida States and the Clemsons of the world in the ACC, essentially. So there's going to be animosity. And now that you have the Big Ten backing Wisconsin, essentially saying we're going to throw our weight behind this, kind of excludes them likely from getting an invitation from the Big Ten anytime soon. So for all of the people out there saying that the Big 12 is never going to be able to get Miami or Florida State or Clemson or North Carolina, maybe this changes things. And I do think from a marketability, profitability, eyeballs perspective, Miami would be great in the Big 12. We don't have a blue blood team. Do I think that the chaos of the conference could be beneficial for some time? Yes. The bipolar nature of the conference where number 16 can beat number 1 and number 1 can lose number 15 on almost a weekly basis whenever. That's good chaotically for now, but eventually you kind of have to have a flag bearer. It just is what it is. And I don't think Miami would be the flag bearer in the Big 12 by any stretch of the imagination, but from a historical perspective, they would be. From a blue blood conversational piece, they kind of would be that. They would bring more marketability, which equals profitability to some degree. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of the Big 12's further expansion. And instead of bringing in 4, 5, 6 teams in 3-4 years or whatever the case may be, wouldn't it maybe even be better if you could just get 2? Like if you could just get Miami and Louisville or Miami and Virginia Tech, Would that maybe even be better than going to 2022-ish? And that's with more realignment coming. But anytime you give some people more money than what other people feel like they're owed, eventually it's going to cause turmoil. Eventually somebody's going to be unhappy, right? Like if you're a Virginia Tech or Louisville and you continuously, compete at the highest levels in the conference, yet you never get the same respect because of X, Y, or Z factors, that's going to become problematic. And once there's more instability in a conference that has been putting massive Band-Aids on it, we know what that leads to because we saw it in the Big 12. We were putting Band-Aids on things and we were placating to Texas and to some degree OU as well. And that equaled instability. It's logical. It's going to happen again in the ACC. So do I love what's happening? No. Do I think Miami should have probably navigated this Xavier Lucas thing a little better? Yes. But if this is something that allows Brett Yormark to have a little bit more of an advantage for the Big 12, I'm all about it. And again, with this litigation going on, that does allow Brett Yormark to say, okay, and by the way, because of the crap you pulled, you're not going to get, the biggest payout right away, or you're going to have to go through a little bit of a earning at phase or 2 years at lesser money, whatever the case may be. There's a little bit of leverage here. Staying in the ACC for the entire conference doesn't make sense. It's not going to. Somebody's going to have some animosity and it's going to grow and it's going to become a festering issue at some point in time. So why not get ahead of it? Brett Yormark essentially put the death nail in the Pac-12, even though they started it. Now he has the same opportunity to do to the ACC. Is it great? Maybe not. But if you're going to get to a Big Three, it's rather to be the one doing the picking and the one getting picked on. Anywho, so we're going to have for this one right here. As always, I love you. God bless. Go Pokes. Thank you for tuning in to make this your first listen here in Locked On Oklahoma State, because you could be anywhere. So happy you choose to be here. Do me a favor, hit the like button if you liked it. Dislike it if you didn't. That's okay too. More importantly, share, comment, and subscribe. My podcast people out there, you're everything that makes this work. I appreciate what you do. So go do what you do. Hit the stars. Leave some reviews. All right, y'all. Later, taters.